Momentum Financial Planning has positioned itself as an advice-first business built for the long term, placing equal emphasis on technical excellence, structured processes, and the human side of financial planning. Today I'm speaking to Henny Bauer, Head of Advisor Acquisition and Enablement, and Aldert Brink, CEO of Momentum Financial Planning, about what this means in practice for advisors, for clients, and for the future of our wonderful profession. Welcome, Henny and Aldert. It's great to chat to you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So for those who might not be 100% familiar, who is Momentum Financial Planning and what sets your approach apart from your competition?
Thank you, Nathan. As I said, thank you for the opportunity. Momentum Financial Planning is a business unit within the Momentum Group. We are a tied agency owned by Momentum, which technically means that we are agents of selling Momentum Financial or Momentum's product set and product suite. What sets us apart? I think I'm going to start with our group purpose. Momentum's group purpose is that we build and protect the financial dreams of our clients. And Momentum Financial Planning is seated in that group purpose. And I think what is significant is that Momentum as a group is really embracing advice. An insured-owned network or insured-owned unit or business unit can easily be just a channel for product sales. But Momentum as a group has strategically started a journey quite some time ago to really embrace advice, which also means that Momentum Financial Planning is part of our advice ecosystem. So it's not just a product offset business. It's really a business that embraces advice. And I think that is the starting point. Your entry point is different from just a product sales environment that chases targets, but it starts off with embracing advice and it links to our group purpose.
MFP is described as an advice-first firm built for the long game in a market often driven by short-term targets. You've spoken about that, and product focus. What does long game thinking actually look like in practice?
First of all, is the word sales should not be a swear word when we talk financial advice. I think there's a misconception about that. And sometimes we try and sway away from that. But I'm quite vocal around the fact that we firmly believe in sales through advice. If there's only an advice conversation, we would have been Momentum Financial Conversations. And ultimately, advice is fulfilled in sales. And I think it's important. However, it needs to be wrapped in an advice framework. That's where the key difference lies. If it was purely product sales, it's not client-centric. It's purely sales-driven, and ultimately, clients don't benefit. How does it practically play out in the Momentum Financial Planning space? We want to ensure, and part of our motto is that each and every client is privy to what we call a minimum advice experience. Now, if you look at what is guaranteed for a client, three things are guaranteed. The one is somewhere in their journey, they will need an executable will. And I'm saying executable will because there's a big difference between a will and an executable will. Secondly is all clients somewhere along the line will need some form of cover, whether it is a rare disease cover or disability or life cover, and even life cover just purely for liquidity at death. But somewhere along the line, cover will be needed, and somewhere along the line, savings will be needed. So, and thirdly is we add to that a firm belief that because your journey continuously changes, that an annual review is crucial. So for us, it is the long game is a minimum advice experience where each and every client that deals with our advisors should have an executable will. It should have a financial plan that incorporates his savings and risk needs. And lastly is ensure that at least clients are engaged with face-to-face, or teams can also count as face-to-face, but have a yearly and annual review where clients' needs that is ever-changing can be assessed and changed in terms of needs being fulfilled, depending on how those needs changed.
MFP has set some minimum experience requirements for advisors. So what gap in the market are you addressing with this specific approach, and what impact has it had so far? And maybe what is that minimum experience requirements?
Well, that's twofold. The one is that I've just explained our minimum advice experience, which is a client-centric requirement. But then secondly also is from advisor perspective is we ensure that all our advisors require to the minimum qualifications and compliance requirements. And it might sound as if that should just be a ticket to the game, but our industry is so highly regulated that advice can easily feel like a compliance conversation that is just supplemented with advice, and that's the big danger, which for most clients is not a great experience. So from a minimum experience on our side is to ensure that we balance compliance, we balance advisory experience also in a manner, in a way, with using technology and tools that it's still client-friendly and client-centric.
You emphasize consistency clients can feel. So how do you ensure a repeatable advice process without losing the individuality and the personal touch of the advisor?
The Momentum Advice journey, which it's been going on for quite some time, was to establish an advice ecosystem that supports our network, which is one of our sister companies, as well as Momentum Financial Planning, with a well-articulated advice philosophy, which is not just compliance, which is not just product, which is not just tools. And that's one of the things that we've seen, how having a well-articulated advice philosophy ensures consistency with clients. And I think it's in an environment where so many times we read in the papers of all the adverse happenings where there was all the wrong media exposure on when advice goes south. When you operate with a reputable business that supports a financial planning business with a well-articulated advice philosophy, you can get to a space where a client can walk back and say, but I'm backed in terms of the advice being given. And that all forms part of our advice philosophy that we embrace in Momentum Financial Planning.
What, in your view, separates an advisor who truly fits the MFP model from one who doesn't, even if they are technically strong?
Arianet, I think I'll take this one. I agree with you. I think technical strength is very important. I think you cannot do our job without that. But unfortunately, that's not enough on its own. What we need as advisors, or look at the advisors that are thriving in our business currently, are general people who are genuinely looking after clients. They're client-centric. They value long-term relationships, not just a quick sale or a quick win. They are open to operate independently, but within a structure and in a professional environment. So it's definitely not just about product and price. I mean, our advisors joining MFPs, they will thrive if they are product and price is the solution, but they must collaborate with people. They must be tech savvy. They must be disciplined and committed to their clients over a long-term relationship. And I think that is what advisors will fit into MFP. That's the kind of advisor that we would like to have.
A random question. What is making an advisor take the decision that they want to be tied versus independent?
Yeah, I've got. I said I always use the example of scuba diving, if I may. I always say that you can go scuba diving when you go into the big deep ocean. You cannot go and dive by yourself. Okay, you can, but it brings all kinds of danger and all kinds of stuff. Scuba diving in general is a safe sport, and it's a safe sport because of great training, great opportunities, great skills practice, testing. You've got a buddy on the boat, you've got a dive master who's taking you down, and a lot of other divers with you that will make sure that you are safe in an environment. So when you're down there, you can decide if you want to see a big shark or do you want to focus on the small little creatures that maybe keeps the reef alive. So down there, you are independently, you're on your own dive. But you do have the safety of a big platform and a big buddy and a dive master. And it's the same as our industry. I mean, you can be on your own, but then you do everything on your own. While joining a big platform like a Momentum Financial Planning, you run your business independently. You decide how you want to treat your customers, what your relationship will be like with your customers, how often you want to see them, and what kind of solutions and advice you want to give them. That is up to you. But you will have the backing of a large platform and a leading brand that will lead you through the process from a compliance training perspective and all of those things that you won't do if you're on, or it's difficult to do when you're on your own.
Yeah, especially these days where there's a lot of regulation and a lot of admin as part of the job of being a financial advisor, which takes me to the next question.
Can
Yes.
I add to Henny's answer?
Yes.
I think it's more, it's a personal story and a personal observation and experience is 2 years ago, myself and my wife was traveling down from the Rhenenspass on the way for a holiday at the what's it? North Coast, South Coast. And I'm not sure if it was my driving skills, but while we were descending the pass, my wife did ask the question that if something should happen to us now, are we okay? And we literally, for the next 30 minutes or 35 minutes, whatever the time span is just unpacked our financial scenario. And she's also in the financial services industry. And almost getting to the bottom of the pass, the conversation fizzled away in the sense that we had comfort because we both have a financial advisor that should something happens, our kids are okay, there would be a trust starting up, they were still at school, and everything would have been covered. All the documentation was safely and secured. Our will is in a place that was accessible. All of those small ticks was in place. Why I'm saying that is it's got nothing to do with variety of product choice. It's got to do with ultimately having comfort and peace of mind that my financial plans are in order. There's always needs. Doesn't mean I'm sure if we double our retirement savings, it would have been more beneficial. So there can always be gaps. But in terms of peace of mind is what financial advice is all about. So I think there are different types of individuals in the industry. Some prefer the variety of choice. Others prefer the comfort and safety and backing of being a tight agent. But ultimately, it culminates into the same client experience, and that is that there's peace of mind.
I love that. And it's at the end of the day what works for you as an advisor, right? So there is a strong focus on governance and standards in your business, as it should be. How do you ensure this enhances advice quality rather than becoming a compliance-driven tick box exercise?
Yeah. So in our life, I mean, we know that the insurance industry is a very regulated industry, and that's a good thing. I see that as a good thing, and we want our advisors to understand that that's a good thing because that makes you professional. That's what makes you, the doctors and the lawyers and all of those other professional jobs also professional, is the fact that they also get regulated. Yeah. So governments and compliance should never be a tick box exercise. We see it as a support system. It sees us as making you successful and professional, because what did happen at the end? It focused on the practical standards. So the standards that we want to implement. We know that all our clients is getting that minimum advice experience because of the standards that we are putting in place. And at the end of the day, that makes sure that the client feels comfortable and confident that the advice that they are getting from a professional advisor is robust, and it's been checked, and it's been according to the law. So everybody benefit, the advisor as well as the client, from having a proper compliance process in place.
Yeah, and we take what we do very serious, which leads to also your stance your platform is for serious advisors. So what does that translate to in terms of the actual support, the tools, and the environment and the culture available to advisors?
Yeah. I think we want to create a platform where professional advisors can work. To be a professional advisor, you need to operate in a professional way. And the professional way is all of those compliance things that we talked about, the regulatory exams that you need to do. You need to take those things seriously. So we've got a very strict and structured program when new advisors join us that they go through from a training perspective, because we believe that your setting up on induction, your first 6 weeks of training is vital for your success going forward. And we are quite tough on that. And what we do there is we're focusing on systems and products and the compliance and technical support and everything that you need to enable you to actually go to a client, do proper advice, listen to your client with empathy, understanding their needs, and then solve for that need. So we are seriously taking these things serious, and then we also got validation numbers in place where there's certain minimum production standards that our advisors also need to produce. For us to continue with our agreement with them. And I think it's vital for us to understand that our industry is a serious industry because we are solving for serious events that's happening to our clients.
I'm keen to get a number on, we all know the average age of the advisor, right? Do you think there's enough efforts, and do we see the results in getting the younger people to understand that this can be such an amazing career?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You can see from the numbers that we are bringing in, there's always the big bunch of young people, really
Nice.
exciting to see how they dress up and come very well dressed in the clothes that their dad bought them. And then you get your experienced guys also coming in, or career changes, like we call it,
Yeah.
which is also nice to see that people is actually willing to give up a job to change their careers to become financial advisors. And when you speak to those people, all of them have some kind of story behind it, why they want to become financial advisors. They probably experience something that the industry has provided for a family member or a friend, and that leads to them to change the environment or a career for that matter. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of them coming through, and the willingness to learn. I mean, it's amazing how they learn quickly, and it also keeps us up to date, because they are the ones who are coming in with artificial intelligence and all kinds of apps that they are using and all kinds of tech stuff. It keeps our older people on our
your toes, right?
to make sure that we are always ready for them. But I'm excited about that. I think they're bringing something new to the party. And our clients is also getting, because the younger clients, because of these guys tech savvy, their clients is also more informed, because they also more using the technology available. So they're already more informed about what's expected, what to expect, and how does insurance work.
When they start as the youngsters, do they need a degree?
Yeah, not immediately. So what we say is they do need to have a industry related degree. So you can't, for example, be an arts degree and you want to sell insurance. So it must be a BCom finance or law or some that we call it the industry related degree. But you've got 6 years to get it. So it's not as if you need to get it when you start. So we can over time get a qualification. It could just be any NQF level 5 qualification as well.
Okay. In the beginning, I heard heart with you, Aldit. So heart and expertise is a key part of your philosophy. How do advisors balance the emotional side of client relationship with the need for that technical precision we've been speaking about?
Yeah. So in the enablement space, which including the training bit in my area, I saw that the best advice sits where the emotional understanding of a client meets the technical accuracy. So where those two meet, that is when the best possible solution will happen. So that means that the advisor actually understand from an emotional perspective and the relationship perspective the client, and that's the hard kind. And then obviously from an expertise perspective, your technical knowledge and the accuracy of that, using the systems that's available, using the financial needs analysis tools that's available, understanding the outcome of the reports, and then sell accordingly by knowing your products, knowing the tax behind it. There's so much more than just an insurance policy. Is understanding the tax, understanding everything about the person, but with the emotions and the relationship part of it very much in line. We do see that people with better relationships is obviously selling more because people just trust them so much better. So relationships, that's the heart. That's why we believe that heart and expertise definitely goes hand in hand.
And EQ and IQ clearly needs to match, right?
Absolutely.
For advisors considering a move, but feeling uncertain, what are the biggest misconceptions about joining a model like MFP? I think we've touched on that.
Yes, I'm going to start with a comment that this is so much different from what is perceived as a hard product sale environment. Financial advice is a product that is, first of all, intangible. Second of all, it is a product that very few people wake up in the morning and says, I need life cover or I need to review my will. And then third of all, it's you've got to ask a client to make a commitment to something that in some instances never want to use, which makes it which makes it a very tough environment, which also culminates into the fact then that our advisors are so much more than product salespeople, and that's probably the biggest misconception. I think the reality of being successful in our environment is you might get away with sales for a short period of time, but you have to develop compassion for clients. For me, an example that we see quite often is we get youngsters and who's quite excited about they studied the correct degree, get into our institute that it's world class, and then in your first 2 or 3 months you do a life cover quote, and the quote comes back and there's a loading. Now, that is a very different conversation from a financial conversation. Suddenly, you are required to go and talk to a client to tell him that your vitals are not stacking up. That something in terms of your medical tests are showing that there's a bigger concern. It changes the conversation, and that's part of the toughness of the industry. And the advisors that makes it in our industry is individuals that starts to embrace that environment and starts to understand that you are really taking care of people's financial future. And that eventually makes them quite good at it. But it also means that you have to be a good salesperson because you've got to be out there and engage with clients. So it's a really good balance of being someone that can take a product out there, but you won't make it without empathy and EQ. And that's probably the biggest hurdle for new individuals that join our industry. And part of the model that MFP supports with is that although we've got a world-class Institute of Financial Planning to give you all the technical skills, you might have the right degree, we can do the base classroom training up to a point. Then you need a community out there to take you through the, let's call it, street credit of financial planning. And I think that's part of the advantage of a model that MFP provides is you immediately sit into a structure where you rub shoulders with senior advisors who's been in the industry, who had to tell somebody that there's too little savings to have a proper retirement, who had to go and sit with a client and talk them through that first 2 weeks of filling in forms when a loved one passed away. Or and I'll use another story which happened earlier this year, where one of our advisors missed a conference and just attended the social afterwards. And I asked him the question, where were you this morning? And I could see the compassion in his eyes where he said, this morning it was, and this is this year, it was a month or two ago, it was his 8th cancer patient or cancer claim that he had to go and have a conversation with a client. And for me, the significant thing is twofold. The one is, first of all, his comments was, that is something you cannot send an email to a client. You have to go and sit with them and take them through the forms. There's no money in that. There's no payment in that. But it is really caring for clients. But that's the one side of the coin. The other one is, if somewhere along the line, an advisor didn't have a conversation about a future potential need, there wouldn't have been a claim, which again is a very different conversation. And I think that, that's the essence of financial planning. It is that we really care about clients, and it's difficult conversations here. Nobody wants to talk about the potential of having clients, or even a will. It's a tough conversation where a husband and a wife or a spouse sit and they realize that they see money and where money should go when they're not there very differently. It sometimes becomes a facilitation. It's not an easy conversation. But in all of that is, if those things are not in place, when life happens, it is so different opposed to where proper financial planning was done, and it makes those tough times in life so much more palatable. It doesn't take the pain away. It doesn't take the consequences away. It just makes the journey so much more palatable. And I think those are the characteristics of individuals that it might be a misconception. If you think you're in our industry and sell policies and make money, I think you're in it for the wrong reasons, because ultimately you won't make it. There's easier ways of making money out of pure sales. Ultimately, it's the misconception is not understanding what it entails, and we sometimes talk about it that we lead a bit of a unicorn. It's someone that understands clients, can listen, be there when they go through those tough times, but also get them over the line. You need a bit of a personal coach, that 5 o'clock in the morning call to say, where were you? I'm waiting for you. And that sometimes is to say to clients, listen, you need to apply a little bit more discipline. Maybe you can't afford the vehicle that you want to buy, and maybe you need to invest more, whatever the scenario would be. But I think that's the misconceptions, and joining a model like MFP gives you exposure to that experience, which you cannot read in a book or being taught at any institution, because it's a rich environment with so many nuances, and I think that helps you. It's a safe landing. It helps you to grow through quite a few tough initial years, but ultimately shapes you to be a stalwart that talks to where I started with, the purpose of Momentum, building and protecting financial dreams of clients. That's the essence of our industry.
Yeah, it's actually incredible how important the job of the advisor is. I think we completely underestimate that. Looking ahead, what will define a successful advisor in the next, say, 5 to 10 years? And how is Momentum Financial Planning positioning itself to support that future?
Yeah, so I think the next 5 or 10 years, I think if the things that we are covering from an insurance perspective, the death, the disabilities, the disease, retirement planning, estate planning, business insurance, those things will not change in the next 5 to 10 years. I think what needs to change is the financial advisor and the way that they operate. So the successful advisor of the future is somebody who can combine technical expertise with what I said earlier, with the relationship with the holistic financial plan, and so the hearts and expertise come together. Artificial intelligence is something that you must embrace. It's not a problem. We as a company are embracing artificial intelligence, and we have some wonderful systems backed by artificial intelligence, which give us all the insights, make all our lives so much easier. But the one thing that artificial intelligence cannot do is they cannot take away the emotions from between you and your client, especially when the event happens. And the artificial intelligence can definitely not build a relationship with your client. So I think in our industry, the advisor that can build the relationships, understand the emotions of clients, and have becoming a holistic financial partner of your client, not just that once-off product and price sale. That is the advisor of the future. And like I said, within our company, we have embraced artificial intelligence. We've got great systems. We've got great training. We've got the institute, like Aldit mentioned. So everything is in place. So to support you to become this financial advisor of the future, in the diving example of the buddy, we are there to support you when things go wrong, and the dive master is there to make sure that if something with the buddy goes wrong, they will back you there. I also say to everybody coming back to scuba diving, is the first thing they taught you when you go diving is plan your dive and dive your plan. And I think that's very much relevant in our business. Without a plan, Okay, nothing will happen. You cannot execute on a plan if you don't have a plan. So speak to a financial advisor, get the plan in place, and then work the plan. The plan might not solving all your problems. It cannot solve a retirement issue if you don't have enough money, but at least half a plan is better than no plan. And the financial advisors are trained to help you through that. So I think that will be the advisor of the future, is somebody who really brings back the personal emotions and relationship.
I'm going to end by asking you to give me a quick reason for anyone who's listened to this and thought there's a glimmer of something that might attract me to do this. Your message to them, Aldert, and then Henny.
My message is, I think we in a society that are so used to having a doctor that you see on a yearly basis and a dentist that you see on a yearly basis. I think that a financial planner falls in the same category. It's a key element that needs to be in every household. Our research has shown that households that make use of a financial planner ends up with 9.5 times more in the savings pot to retire with than those not using it. And that talks about the value of advice. So I think for me it's an amazing career. It serves individuals, it serves people, and the outcome of that is it's a gratifying industry. Sometimes pictured in all the wrong ways, but the industry is being transformed into be a lot more professional than it was years ago. But yes, it's an exciting career, and it's an amazing, gratifying career.
Henny?
Yeah, I think when you become a financial advisor, you're not becoming just a so-called insurance salesperson. You are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you are an engineer, because you are an architect, because the architect is building financial plans. You are an engineer because you have to take that plans and turn it into something structured so that the guys can build these financial plans on it. You are a doctor because you sit and discuss physically medical conditions with your clients. So I think you are a relationship builder, you are a coach, you are a guidance, you guide your clients through it, you coach them through their finances. And I think it's a lot more than just, a lot of people think this job ends when you sell a policy. But a policy sold is nothing. It's about that 2 o'clock in the morning phone call. It's about the event that happened. And I think that's where a financial advisors really come to play. I've never been in a position where a client said to me afterwards, Henny, thank you very much, but I don't need the money at claim stage. We give it back, or it just never happened. I'm always grateful that somebody has told them and advised them at some stage through their life to do something special. And a claim stage is that day.
And I'm going to end by saying this is a job that you'll never ever be replaced by AI or by a robot or by a bot or by anything else. So definitely something to consider if you liked anything you heard today. I thank you for your time, Henny Aldert. It was great chatting, and I'm sure we'll catch up again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.